Good morning. Good morning. Apologize by the delay. I will humbly accept the co-host. Get your coffees, settle in, and we will um, we'll get started in a minute. Star Boss is running late, so I can guarantee you she and Jeff and Maksud will be here shortly. They're talking about civics, so we'll see how that works. It is par for the course for having folks that are dotted across the digital overlay, that they have their commitments and their real world jobs, and um, everybody makes their own little sacrifices to be here in the morning, or late at night, last night, for instance. Hopefully, we can get all of our I's dotted, T's crossed, all of the dots and the capital letters and everything else that was hidden here, there, and everywhere. We can unearth those and carry on. It's going to be a wonderful class today. Also, marinate on the modules. That's what we were talking about last night. So hopefully, we'll touch on that a little bit. Um, I see that Alisher is here in the Tech and Schools. Josh Hellman is here in face, and probably cash money behind the scenes. Um, just yeah, just settle in, folks. Make sure your laptops are open, that you are logged into your cPanel. Make sure that you have everything you need to hit the ground running when everybody arrives. If you see people that are not here, tag them and bag them, find them, bring them in. This is a very short class, about an hour, hour 15, 20 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour and a half if it's complicated. But last night we didn't get through a ton, but having that muscle memory and go through exactly what we need to do to make sure that we are all put together, and ready to build our modules, our little pieces of our community, and our content managers out. So without much more fanfare, I will be right back. I'm going to have to do a couple things behind the scenes. Just settle in. Don't be unnerved by the silence for a minute. We don't have any like fun music in the background. Um, Sometimes you don't want to hear fun music. You just want to get to work. But that's okay. We'll be right back. I see you, Crazy Jack. I'm not going to bring you up today, friend. Um, this is kind of a classroom setting, so everybody is showing up to do their classwork. But I want to tell you, I'm proud of you. And I hope that even if you're not doing classwork in the background, that you can be working on your building rigs or making new avatars in the background on your own laptop. If you want to stay in the audience and just sit here and work side by side with a bunch of people, you're more than welcome, friend. I'm so thrilled to see you and thank you for the hearts. But I'm not going to bring you up, okay? Just because it's just a class recording and we want to make sure. Thank you, honey. I appreciate it. I appreciate the thumbs up and the fist bump. All right. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, friends. And just know that you're very loved. Really, really proud of you. Welcome to Hope. I just saw that Roaring Bib just checked out. I wanted to give her a fist bump back. Thank you for your checking in on all of us. That was really kind of you. I see that Haley has arrived. Jeff, you're here. I see that, I think it's Jed, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, Mr. Gurney. Um, I just think the world of you. And I'm so thankful for your presence today. So I'm glad that all of you have arrived. Up top, we have our website live stream. So Innovators Think Tank. You can go ahead. We did have some troubles last night where it would freeze. That's actually an us problem, not necessarily behind the scenes Luke and Cash Money Kev problem. Sometimes you do have to press the refresh button in order to make sure. I did have some trouble my own self where the screen had frozen and I was trying to, use that as my cPanel. And my mouse did not work on the live stream. Imagine that. It was just wonderful. So just be aware. We do realize that you're shuffling screens, and it can be kind of annoying, especially if you're using a phone like I am for your social audio component. If you are using a phone, by the way, make sure to remember to turn the mute on your laptop so that you don't have the feedback of a double voice. That can be annoying sometimes. Alisher, are you all ready? Are you signed in and ready to go, friend? How are you this morning? Happy Thursday.
I'm good. I have my coffee here. Happy Thursday, everybody. Almost the end of the week. We're a little over halfway there. And yeah, I'm all ready. I'm all signed in. I had this all set up since yesterday. And there is one more thing I did last night. I took all of our recordings and I made a YouTube playlist. So I uploaded all of them on YouTube. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share this. And then I'm probably going to share it in Slack later today as well when I add today's recordings. So for those people that I know who were saying that they were behind, that they would like the recordings, they are on YouTube now. So it's all there. It's all in the format where you can just watch it as a live stream. And I think YouTube might even automatically use AI to pick some hot spots that you can focus on. We'll see. I have to go back through all the videos and maybe create some sort of sections to make it easier for people. But I think today, and what we did yesterday, was have a very good review, right? Because we went through cPanel. You know, cPanel is it has a lot of tools. It's very expensive. It has so many things in here, and we really only focus on a few of the tools in its arsenal. And so a good review that we did yesterday, and it was also a review from season 2, because in season 2 we also used cPanel, although we didn't spend as much time in it. So I think today we'll continue with that review. And I know Ross gave out homework last night. So does anybody remember what that homework is?
I'm not cheating, but I will definitely tell you, you have to have your modules and understand what you need. And you definitely have to have all of them set up and get to know your vTiger a little bit. Just get to know your tools in general. I think a lot of us, I was marinating on this last night, and I don't know if it's the best way to put it, but I do think a lot of us, because these are so unfamiliar, right? I know for me, I'll use myself as an example. cPanel is completely foreign to me. Divi was completely foreign to me. And so you don't really understand, like what Alisher just said, they are expansive tools. And what I'm doing is just pointing the cursor, and I'm pointing and clicking at the things that they tell me to do. And then, as long as I don't get a red, angry red card, I figure, hey, I just did it and I figured it out. But that's not it. It's not just pointing and clicking. It's actually going back and understanding what you're doing. For me, a long time, a good portion of my time in last season was understanding how DNSs move. How does your domain move? How are things actually connected? We're playing with all of these building blocks, these wonderful little Legos, but sometimes when you're playing with a whole bin of Legos, you can build anything, right? But you need to see the box. You need to see the picture if you are trying to build a specific something. There's two separate kind of ecosystems. One where you're just a free for all and you're building whatever. The other is understanding what that big picture is. And for me, I needed to see the big picture. And so last night I had a Sharon moment where I was like, oh, this is what a CRM is, and on the surface, I think I knew what it was, because by definition, and you can kind of figure it out. I mean, if you're in marketing and things like that, contact management, understanding each of these little pieces. When we're playing with, let's say, Stripe, that's how you get paid, right? But you also have to guard and protect it. um, a lot of the things that we did last night. You have to know how to guard and protect these little blocks, but you also have to understand what they do and how they can be compromised. And so I think that is one of the big aha moments for me, is that I'm learning something that's not completely, or that is completely new to me, but also my homework is to make sure that I understand all the bits and pieces and what they do, so that when we go through class and we are just pointing and clicking, I'm actually making the connection. Aha, I am creating a course's little block here, a new domain or subdomain. I'm understanding the difference between the domain and a folder. That is a big deal, especially when it comes to security. And so, um, I think that's one of the things that I took away from last night, is that I think I've just been clicking and going through the motions to hopefully keep my head above water and finish and check my boxes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I understand what I'm doing or that I'm competent at it yet, because I would never feel competent in saying, "Hey, I can build this for your business." I couldn't do that with a straight face. Um, I think I would be lying through my teeth if that was the case, because I don't even know how half of this stuff works, or, you know, and that's one of the things that for me, my personal goal is to kind of finish that out. So I wanted to make sure everybody else knew that, even those of us that are on the panel, we're still learning stuff too, and learning how to communicate also. And I also want to make sure, and just put this out here, we've gotten to know each other, so there's a friendly banter. And when we're joking around up here on stage, I know last night we were talking to Sharon. Please know that Sharon is a dear, dear friend of ours. And so when we're goofing around like that, for the listening audience, it may seem that we're berating or just kind of goofing off, or poking fun. And I don't want anybody to feel embarrassed or ashamed to come up and ask questions. We're not making fun of you. Sometimes the best way to face a hard situation is through laughter, because the opposite of that is just tears, right? And so hopefully, that's the takeaway, is that, when you're up here and you're the firing squad, you know, yeah, don't take anything personally. We're trying to learn, and actually failing is awesome. If you're failing miserably and you're just not clicking the right buttons, and you've done it 1,000 times, but you're still not clicking the right buttons, part of that is because you don't understand why you clicked the button in the first place. Once you understand that, then it kind of, it's no longer just a click, it's clicking in your head too. So I wanted to make sure to tell you that please feel welcome always and safe to come up, ask questions. And if talking is not your thing, then you can go into the Slack channel. And if it is something that you're truly not understanding, um, Sharon gave us a master class last night and saying, "No, I don't get it. I just don't understand. Continue to tell me what I don't understand. I will sit here and tell you, I do not understand this. I do not see the dot. No, I don't." And that's okay. We want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. And she is a beautiful, beautiful soul. And I can't imagine my world without her. So I hope that she's sleeping in today and she's having a good day. But Alisher, let's start class, shall we? I see that Teodora is here, the beautiful Teodora. I love her so much. And Stephanie, Justin, I see you up in the upper corner. TJ Law, I see you, and Joshua, Haley, I see Jeff, and I see Nelson. Happy Thursday, folks. Give yourself a congratulations. Congratulations for showing up for yourself, learning a new skill, going above and beyond, putting in the time, doing the thing. The grit, the determination, the tenacity. It's not easy. You're doing a thing that most people won't. And so I see each and every one of you, and I wish you the crazy, amazingest success and random awesomes for today. So go ahead, Alisher, go ahead.
And real quick, Alisher, and I agree with you 100%, Sarah. I just want to add on that I think the homework too from last night, Alisher, was adding 5 of your own modules and if you had the V Tiger logo still, you have to get that changed out. I just wanted to be sure that the
Oh
V
yeah,
Tiger
you have
part
to
was in
change
there
the V
too.
Tiger. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
But
Yeah, that's a part I forgot as well. That's why I was asking. It wasn't for us to get a review. Truly, I completely forgot what homework we had. I just remember we had some sort of homework. And another thing to add on, and I absolutely agree. It's one thing to follow directions, and another thing to understand why you're doing something. Which is why today we're also going to spend, pretty much the reviewing what we did, and also we did with cPanel last season, kind of. And also, practice makes perfect. So I think one of the biggest things Ross mentioned is set yourself a goal of spending some time on your website. And the more pages you create and edit, the better you understand Divi, the better you understand its quirks. The more different apps you launch in cPanel, the better you start understanding cPanel. Because I'll be very honest, we have only covered maybe 2 tools here out of, like 40 or 50 tools. And I personally don't use every tool, but there are tools here that we should cover eventually that are important. Like Ross mentioned something like database. Well, a lot of us don't even know how to edit a database here in cPanel, but there is a way. A lot of us are not really going to know how to navigate that app and that tool in here. So that's why kind of practice makes perfect, because if you keep launching platforms on here, because platforms is not just limited to what's inside of applications that we see, because we're using Installatron. Installatron is the easy way, but platforms is really any PHP platform, because that's what cPanel is mostly for, PHP. And PHP is a very, large portion of the web. If we're saying that, WordPress is like 50-60% of all of these websites, well, WordPress is PHP. Facebook for the longest time was PHP. I think the main Facebook is still PHP, and then they have like a beta version that's Next.js and React. So yeah, I think practice makes perfect, and it's not just limited to these apps. If you find a PHP app and you want to try it out, you can talk to AI Tutor, you can talk to an AI assistant and figure out how to launch it. Now, this is a very large, popular piece of software that you'll really be able to get a good answer and a step-by-step and a really good explanation out of it if you're doing something that's outside of what we're doing. But today, as I remember correctly, yesterday what we did is we launched a new WordPress, and we also launched what's called Moodle, a learning management system, an LMS. So now we kind of have our CRM where we can manage customers' leads, engage our customers, engage anybody who interacts with our business. Then we also have WordPress, which is like the landing page where you can start capturing all this information. And then we also have Moodle, the LMS, which could be the product itself, right? Eventually they get to this course inside of Moodle that they have to pay for. And that's the trifecta that will create this kind of community forum type framework for you, where you'll be able to easily interact with your customers. You'll be able to easily, entice anybody who is a potential customer, because vTiger is very good at capturing leads, and also will really allow you to build out a community. Because on the WordPress side of things, there's so much there that you can really turn WordPress into a whole social media platform, a whole forum platform, an entire like course builder. I mean, WordPress is very malleable. We've built entire even wallets in WordPress. I remember we had somebody who wanted to have some sort of like a digital wallet, and you're able to do that with WordPress. Turn WordPress into like a bank system. It's essentially a PHP framework for anything you want to do, and it sometimes doesn't require you to code. And I think what we're going to start with is some of the review, right? So we have cPanel, and cPanel has so many tools. For those of you who are on the live stream, I have my cPanel open, and if you're launching your own apps that aren't vTiger, WordPress, Moodle, or any of the apps that we're going to go through, well, you want to pay attention to some of the information. You want to pay attention to some of these tools like File Manager, databases, But for us, we're going to focus on domains. And the first thing we did yesterday is we added a domain, because when you create a new domain, you're also creating a new folder where you can store your application. Right? At the end of the day, cPanel is just an interface for your server where you store your files and you serve those, files and apps to the user when they try to access it. So what I do is I don't really look through these here that are shown. Instead, I search. There's a search bar in the top right, makes it extremely easy for you to get anywhere in cPanel. So when you want to start with a new app in cPanel, you always want to start with having a domain in here. Now, you guys have an advantage. Each one of you has this domain that's .tsiprogram.org. So I have afarhadi.tsiprogram.org. Now, these domains, you can do really whatever you want with here in the cPanel. We set it up in a way where every single person that signs up automatically gets one, and then you're able to use it for what's called subdomaining, which is having other domains on top of it. Now, I'm going to search for domains, and I'm going to add a new domain. This is always where you want to start when you're just about to deploy a new app. Things like Vercel do this automatically. Here, we have to do it manually. So I'm going to go to domains. I'm going to look for domains in the top right search bar. And then in here, you already see I have some domains that I've used previously from season 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new domain. Now, all of your domains are going to end in dot, whatever it is, your domain is .tsiprogram.org. And the reason is because it's set up to automatically secure that, and it's set up to automatically point the DNS, the actual domain servers that are in GoDaddy, to this server. So for you, it's less setup. Now, I'm going to call this, I think if this is a fresh WordPress that we're starting, I think last night we called it Hub. Today I'll call it Landing, right? An important word that Sharon brought up last week was landing page. So whenever you want a website that will capture leads, that will capture some sort of information, that's just kind of like a quick at-a-glance website for a customer to go to and see information about your website, we'll call it a landing page. So I'm going to call this landing. And then, again, this domain is going to end in my domain name for the cPanel. So it's going to be landing.afarhadi.tsiprogram.org. These autocompletes, I usually don't pay attention to, because then it just makes it super complicated. But this should be fine. Now, the only other option here is the document root. Your cPanel is like a collection of folders, right? It has files. And what this does is this determines whether this domain is going to be in the main folder or should it create its own folder. So when you put it in the main folder, you could potentially overwrite something that's already in the main folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, no, do not share document root, and instead make this new folder. That's the name of the domain, landing.afarhadi.tsiprogram.org. That's just the easiest way, because when you go to files, it makes it very easy for you to associate this folder in the files on your server with this specific website. And from here, you can just click submit. So let's see. Now that name is not taken anywhere on the server, so immediately it creates it successfully. If you get an error that says something like subdomain, you need to have a subdomain, well, then that could mean that specific domain is already taken. What's up, Sarah?
The page that you're on right now, that fourth column that says force HTTPS direct or redirect, that is not where we get the S at the end of the HTTPS later on. I just wanted to point that out in the recording, because some folks had some trouble with that last night. For some reason, that was clicking in their head that they needed to push something there in order to have a secure site. And that, I think, was becoming an issue. So I just wanted to make sure that it's timestamped so that that page right now where the cursor is not where the HTTPS in your domain name comes from in later on in the step. Go ahead, Alisher.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. Actually, your HTTPS is automatic. And what ends up happening is in this situation, you don't need to force it because when we install WordPress, WordPress is actually going to generate a file called htaccess file, which tells the browser where to go. And what will end up happening is it'll automatically, in that file, tell the browser to go to HTTPS. And whenever we, go on in later seasons and launch different apps in our cPanel, this is going to become more and more prevalent. You're going to see it a lot more. But right now, because we're doing things where it's like a one-click installation instead of actually bringing files over, creating databases, it's not as visible. It's kind of automatically generated for us. Okay, now in this case, I can't do it yet because the automatic certificate didn't run yet. I think it runs like every few minutes or so. And now what I am going to do is now I'm going to go and get my WordPress and deploy that. Now in season 2, we spent about a week. We talked about how to deploy the WordPress. And the way we do it on this server is using Applications Installatron, right? Is this little Applications tab on the left of our screen. And you want to go to Applications Browser here. It's the little star. And this is where we can find all the apps that are available to us. I think last season we only had the WordPress available. This season we turned everything on. And we only really need the WordPress, right? WordPress is under content management. WordPress is a CMS type of platform, content management system. You guys are hearing all these acronyms: CRM, LMS, CMS. This is how they all come together. Okay, so WordPress. I'm going to click install, and let's take a look at some of these options here. So first is domain. We just created a domain. So I named my domain landing, and you might have named your domain something else, but that's the domain we're looking for. And you want to look for where it starts with HTTPS. This is where that becomes important. This is where you're telling the Installatron applications what files to generate and where to put them and what it's going to be like, what domain is going to go to. Now, directory, you don't want anything in here if you have a custom domain, because that will just keep creating additional folders. And you guys can see here where it says the domain and directory selected, you can read. So here's the domain that we selected, and here's where it is on the server in terms of folders. So when you add an additional directory here, that's optional, you're going to notice things start adding at the end of our folder here, such as another folder, and then if you do another / it's going to be another folder. But we just want to keep it inside of this landing.afarhadi.tsi-program.org folder that corresponds to that domain. Now, version of WordPress, we'll stay with recommended. Sometimes they have latest recommended. Stay with recommended because latest could potentially have issues. Now, here's the main settings. So we have administrator username, administrator password. This is where you create your login to this WordPress. And this is where you want to create something that you will, be able to re-enter. So something that you remember, or some sort of a strong, good password that that you can put back in here. And what's up, Sarah?
And this is the password just for the landing. It is not the password for your previous thing. Everyone has their own passwords, and make sure you're writing them down and keeping track of them. Last night, Ross had mentioned, also keeping a like a Notions document or Obsidian document, fill in your blank, pick your poison of when you get error messages, how you navigate outside of them. This is where you would put it in, right? And you want to make sure that this password is not the same as all the others. You have to be very disciplined in maintaining account hygiene, and for lack of a better term. So just put that into your noggin and make sure you're writing out your password, because if you don't remember it, no one can help you. You will get screwed.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So each application that you install here will have a different password, different login. As you notice, almost each application that you install in Applications Installatron on this installation screen has an option for you to enter your username and password. Now, luckily for WordPress in this situation, if you forget your password, you can actually SSO in, like a single sign-on link in, without needing a password from your cPanel, and then reset your password if you need to. But typically, unless you're using Installatron, that's not really the option. So in this situation, because we're using Installatron, it makes it a little bit easier for us, but you're 100% correct. And you guys should definitely note that down somewhere. Each application has a completely separate login, completely separate login page, completely separate system. Now, continuing on with these settings, administrator email, make sure this is a real email, because this can actually be your password recovery. Because sometimes when the application is set up, it's able to send emails to you for password recovery. Two-factor, you don't need to enable. This is something you should probably enable later on as you have people signing up for your website. But for you, when you just sign in and edit, you don't really need it. Two-factor is really only necessary when you have customers signing in. Limit login attempts. Now, this could be like a double-edged sword here. Yes, you want to limit it because this is going to protect from bots trying to access your website and trying to break into your website. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you don't get logged out if you forget your password, you enter it too many times. So I'd like to keep it on. If you think you might get logged out and not be able to access your website, you might want to keep this off, because this will actually lock your website down after like 3 or 4 attempts. Great tool for protecting yourself from hackers and brute force attacks, though. Automatically manage the settings for me, that's fine. And install. So it looks like I have all my settings right. This should install pretty flawlessly. Now let's take a look. Here it is installing. And a very important thing to note here is every WordPress you install on the cPanel, it'll come with Divi and it'll come with the WP all-in-one migrations for backing up your website and migrating it. You won't really get that anywhere else because that's the way we set it up on our server. And you might want to, get a backup. And if you want to reuse this setup somewhere else, you can always plop it in and reuse it in whatever WordPress you create that's not on the cPanel. Because again, at the end, if in season 4 we're not going to do cPanel again, then really only the winners will keep the cPanels. So now here we have our landing page. You could also rename it. Instead of blog 5, you can name it something else a little bit more descriptive for you. I have a lot of things in here. You're going to have quite several things in here as well. Now, in here, we have 2 links that are important. This first link is the link to view the front page of the website. So as you can see, when I go to this link, this is a page that comes with every single Divi. This is the way we set it up. You can, of course, change it. And then the second link that ends in WP-admin, well, this is a link to log straight into this WordPress. So that's one of the beauties of Installatron, is that you don't need a login, even though very important to write it down and remember it. Instead, you just click on the link and it logs you in. Now, in here, we're not really going to go through it today. I think next week we have actually connecting WordPress and the LMS that we have and the CRM that we have. But for now, what you should have is this fresh installation of WordPress with a front page. And maybe you want to start editing your front page to make it, represent your product and capture your audience. and start to apply all those concepts we learned in season 2. If you're finished with this page and you're like, well, I kind of want to create another one, go ahead. You can create as many apps as you want, but keep in mind the 2 big steps that you have to take before you install this. First step is create a new domain. Then the second step is Installatron. Use the WordPress Installatron to get this installed and make sure you select the right domain. That's going to be your base steps pretty much anytime you launch anything on cPanel. By creating a new domain, what you're essentially doing is you're creating a new folder that's separate from everything else. And if I go back to my cPanel tools, I can actually show you. There's a file manager, just like our computers have Explorer and Finder. This has file manager, and this little globe icon will contain all of our public websites. Right? That's your little indicator. Globe means it's available on the internet. And then here I have my folders. Right? I have 1 domain, I have 2 domain, I have another one for Friday that we did I think last season, and I have the CRM from last week. So it kind of makes everything separate and helps us keep everything very organized. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of files in here, and you really won't know what file belongs to what app. Things will start getting very messy. Apps will stop working. So this is a good way to keep everything separate. Now, the second thing that we installed, the second app that we deployed, is Moodle. It's a learning management system. So for those of you who have courses, who want to sell courses, this is a good way for you to, I guess, store your courses, build out your courses, because Moodle is, it's as big as Canvas. Canvas is open source too, by the way. If you want to go off and try to install Canvas somewhere, you could. But we're going to use Moodle because it's an Installatron. It makes it easy for us to install. Doesn't require us running any commands. Okay, now before we move on to Moodle, any questions about launching a new WordPress? This is part of what we did yesterday.
I think we're good. The other question was, I don't think you've gotten to it yet, is changing, obviously, the vTiger, changing out the icons and making it your own. I don't think we've covered that either, but just to make sure that it's somewhere documented, secret somewhere, so that folks can make sure that their homework is done. But when you were talking about modules, this was one of the things that we were talking about last night, is that you may not know what you know, or may not know what you don't know right now. And when you're creating these pages and these modules or these separate domains and things like that, you want to make sure that you're thinking ahead in what your business model actually is. Why are you here? What are you trying to accomplish? What is it that you are offering your customer base? What is your value proposition? And then on the flip side, what do you need them to provide you other than just money? What kind of information are you trying to glean from them to better serve them? That's the kind of things that we have to ask ourselves and write those questions down. So I see that Jacqueline has come up. I hope that Jacqueline's the only speaker, because sometimes I see speakers as listeners. And so, okay, excellent. Jacqueline, welcome to the stage. Happy Thursday. What would you like to say to the people? Jacqueline, did you have your mic on mute, or are you just sitting on the panel? You're allowed to do that too. No big deal. If you don't have an immediate question, Alisher will continue. I think we're good. Okay, go ahead, Alisher. Continue, honey.
Okay, so now I will get to vTiger. I think I'll launch the LMS, and then I'll show you guys everything that's left in vTiger for you to do your homework. Now, let's launch Moodle. The first step, again, the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new domain. So this is separate from everything else. So I'm going to go to domains. Again, the search tool, your best partner here on cPanel. They'll find you anything. And I'm going to create a new one. And I'll make this one learn. Simple, learn, LMS. You guys can make it whatever else you want. Course, curriculum, class. If anybody wants to make a Moodle for Idea to Impact Season 3, you're more than welcome. And of course, my domain is going to always end in my actual domain name for the cPanel. And if you don't know where to locate your domain name, check this out. It's on the front page of your cPanel. It's where it says primary domain. You will need this in a lot of situations. So whenever you're using the cPanel, you want to make sure you're familiar with primary domain and IP address for whenever you want to add your own domain. Okay, so my domain is going to end with my primary domain, afarhadi.tsiprogram.org. And then I'm not going to share document root because I want a separate folder from the root. And as you can see, it's going to create its own folder called lms.afarhadi.tsiprogram.org. It's perfect. Easy for me to identify. Domain name is the same as folder name. And submit. I should have no issue. This is unique enough. And there you go. Now, I can go ahead and try to make my Moodle. So I'm going to go to Applications from the side menu. I'm going to go to Applications Browser, and you can just look for Moodle. Spelled like noodle, but with an M. There it is, Moodle LMS. Again, one of the largest learning management systems on the internet. And because it's open source, you actually don't really know what companies use it. We know for a fact Cisco uses it for their courses because we've worked with them for years, and they've spoken to us about learning management systems and what to use. Before they used to use Canvas, another extremely large and popular learning management system that's also open source actually, and you can find it on GitHub. But Moodle, it's PHP based. It works on our servers, and it's also much lighter than Canvas. Now, very important, when you're installing an application with Applications Installatron, you want to select the right domain, and you want to make sure it's the one that has HTTPS because we want secure. So I'm going to look for the domain that I just made, and it's right here, HTTPS lms.afarhadi.tsiprogram.org. Now, I don't want anything in the directory because the domain already has its own separate directory. Now, version, I'm going to stick with recommended. I'm going to stick with English. And here, again, it has administrator username and administrator password. So you want to make sure that you fill these out and you write them down somewhere. And these are separate from any other app that you launched. This is separate from the WordPress that we just launched. So,
for those of you that are visual learners, one of the things that I did is every module or every domain that I set up, I actually have a schematic drawing that is on my whiteboard so that I know how they're all connected. I have to see it, right? And in my binder where I have the passwords that I have written down, every time I create a new one, I put it right there so that I have it at my fingertips. Some other people use different systems and ways of doing things, but for me, I need to have the map, the underground map. Maybe it's just a Gen X thing where you just have the whole thing in front of you where you can, this is the Goonies and we're going to go and here's Chester Copperpot's map, to the universe and things like that. Whatever method it is that you need to employ to remember these things and how they're connected, you are helping your future self exponentially. The more that you do now and put in the work now, and instead of cutting corners, the better off you are going to be. Because if something goes wrong, you are immediately able to discern where you have to go and how you have to act, or what things you have to do in order to fix it. Ross had mentioned that last night, that he has his Notion file, right? It's the same kind of thing. You need to have your breadcrumbs for your future self, because a lot of things change, things get updated, things go wonky. You'll forget maybe a version, or you'll maybe forget, where it is, or if something goes wrong. Doing this now and being very disciplined about it is going to help you.
I absolutely agree. I think writing these down is important, and also there are tools in your computers, in your phones that can do this. So I've been using the Google Chrome password safe for ages, and it's helped me a lot. Moving from phone to phone, device to device, so very useful. I know Ross mentioned LastPass, but LastPass is a little clunky. At the end of the day, you need a plugin, you need an app, you need to remember your login for LastPass, and when you forget that, it's a whole situation. I've watched, I've struggled with LastPass, which is why I gave up on it. And also, if you're an iOS user, if you're an Apple user, you have Keychain. Just start saving things to your Keychain. It's extremely useful. I save things to the Keychain on the Mac all the time, especially in the developer environment. So there's tools already. When it asks you, do you want your password saved? Say yes. But also keep in mind and be wary, so to say, all of these things that save your password, they're all, online connected. So you want to be careful. Notion connected online. You want to be a little bit careful, because at the end of the day, if your data is exposed, then, well, there go your passwords.
You want to make sure that there are layers of friction, right? Just because it's easy for you now, it will make it more difficult for you later, in the event that you have an exploit in one way, shape, matter, or form. You want to make the barrier to entry harder for outside ne'er-do-wells. So making sure that you do it that way. There are some folks, we had a question last night about YubiKeys, where you have different kinds of keys to keep those kinds of things encrypted. I don't know enough about it, actually, to give you a way, a yes or a no, but I will tell you that as your systems grow,
I would absolutely say a yes to YubiKeys.
They're really great. Really great.
Absolutely.
Well, I know that a lot of folks that dabble in pirate money and have JPEGs on different kinds of things, just for Twitter in general, having a YubiKey. As your network grows, as your community grows, you become a bigger target. So when you think of these folks that have millions of followers, their accounts are trying, they use social engineering to fish those passwords out of you. Here on Twitter, I get, I don't know, in any given week, tens, maybe 20, different kinds of phishing emails saying, hey, I want to interview you for XYZ, or I want to give you some questions, and we're going to have this interview for you. And then what they'll do is they'll say, here are the questions in a PDF or whatever. The minute you click that, your entire system is compromised, right? So you have to be very careful about how you're managing your whole entire ecosystem. You are setting up a giant moat around the most valuable things that you have in terms of your business. And so having those kinds of checks and balances in place, the YubiKey for us is very important, and you can have one for every person in your ecosystem. So like my kids, they all have one, but I don't know how it would play into this, but I would assume that it's a wise choice. I mean, Alistair just said, yes, do it. But you have to check into it, and you have to know what it is, just like anything else. Don't add something that you don't know what it's going to do, into your ecosystem. You just kind of, you don't want to be a digital hoarder either. It's no different than the applications when you were hunting and gathering in GitHub, when you see all these wonderful things and you're like, ooh, I want that, I want that, I want that, without even understanding how they're going to play a role in your ecosystem. You just get digital flack or clutter, and you don't want that because it'll gunk up the works too. But yeah, so put that on your list of things to look at, as that maybe a YubiKey is helpful for you in terms of keeping things safe. So I'm sorry to interrupt, Alisher. Go ahead and continue, my friend.
No, I think this is all important. This is all part of the discussion and, growing as we build these apps. Because you want to, at the end of the day, build a secure app that your community, your people can go to where they will feel secure as well. So it's definitely an important discussion. Now, this is the exact error we got yesterday. And what this means is, just so you guys know why this happens. Whenever you create a new domain, it sets a new folder. And inside of those folders, you need to set settings for PHP. So these settings, these are limits of what PHP can do. And these limits are great for the most part, because it prevents hackers and malicious people from uploading large files to your app. But in our situation here, it just wants to increase input vars. It doesn't really want an increase in size. Sometimes you might an increase in size. And we'll look at these settings right now. This is located in PHP ini settings. So I'm going to type in PHP in search tools. And let's see, I have PHP ini editor. There it is. First thing that pops up. And then here, as you can see, it makes you select a domain. So this is how you know it's per domain. So whenever you use a separate domain for something, you're also separating the settings for it, which is a good practice, because each app might require, different level of limits. So I'm going to look for LMS. And here I have the basic ones set up: execution time, input time. It wants me to change input vars to, I think it was 5,000. So we'll make it 6,000 just to be safe. And here's some of the memory limits and post limits as well. So sometimes, if you want to upload files that are larger than 128 megabytes, you need to change the settings as well for yourself. But then when you're done, you could always change them back. So I'm going to change these settings. Now, wherever you see memory, post max size, upload max size, I changed it to 512 because it is still, 512 megabytes is still relatively small. This can go into gigabytes and all that. And it's also, precaution for the future. Whenever we upload any sort of plugins into Moodle, they might be quite large because they're going to completely overhaul our system. If you notice, Moodle looks atrocious out of the box. So there's a bunch of themes that they have that we're going to play with. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to install my learning management system again. I'm going to go back to applications browser. I'm going to look for Moodle. And then I'm going to go through this installation process again. Again, very important to select the right domain that has HTTPS in it. In this case, this domain I just made a few minutes ago. You don't want a directory because you already have a folder here. That's the domain name. And then username, password. Make sure you save these somewhere. Title you can keep the same. Title is changeable once you get into Moodle, just like WordPress. The main things you want to pay attention to is domain and the login information. And now it should process. I think if you guys remember, for vTagger, whenever we were installing vTagger, we actually had to change those PHP ini settings as well. That actually creates a file inside of our folder. That's the main reason why those settings refresh every time you make a new folder, is because inside of that folder, that php.ini file does not exist. So by changing the settings, you're remaking it. Now, this might take a few minutes. Moodle is a bit of a larger app than WordPress. It has a few more functions in there. But this is our trifecta for now. We have our WordPress. That's going to be our landing page where people can sign up, where people can, sign up for our newsletters, become essentially a potential customer or a lead. Then we have our CRM where we can manage all those leads. We can manage everybody's info. You could even send out some sort of, deals to people during their birthday time. I've seen a lot of companies do that. All that information comes from the CRM. It's great at capturing customer information. You can do other things in the CRM. You can manage your entire infrastructure in the CRM. Let's say you are a company that, sells something physical. You can manage your inventory inside of vTiger. We are going to hop into vTiger again, by the way. And then we have Moodle. So this is for people who want to create courses. Moodle also has Stripe integration. So that's very useful for us. And Moodle is essentially like Google Classroom. It's like Mighty Networks, Udemy. It's like any of these websites where you see courses that are paid as well. Google Classroom is not paid. So if you ever want to do a free course, you could always use Google Classroom. It's free. But in this situation, we want a course where we want to, restrict access to one parts of the website, and then maybe have some parts of the website that are a free course. We actually have a Moodle as well. Let me see if I can find it. Learn, maybe. No, is it? Yeah, so I got to fix the HTTPS here, but we had a Moodle here. And as you can see, we have our video. This is the Moodle theme, by the way. Oh, these don't go anywhere. But yeah, I was starting to set this up. And essentially, here's where we could potentially have paid courses, just like Mighty Networks. Here's where we could also have free courses where you can go and sign up. But these aren't set up yet. And this is what your Moodle could potentially look like. Right, it looks fairly modern, because if we go and look at our Moodle right now, it is not going to look great. So check this out. Here's what our Moodle looks like right now. It's very empty, has really nothing in it. If we go to the admin side, it's very basic. Although this actually looks much better than it did when I started playing around with Moodle. Let's see if I can log in. You always want to double check whether or not you can log in. There you go. On your first login into Moodle, it'll ask you for some sort of settings. This is site summary for the front page. Location, self-registration, you can keep it disabled for now. These are all things that are changeable. So if you fill these out and you want to change them later, fairly easy to do. Now, as you can see, Moodle very stripped down. There's really nothing here. That's why it's very good for education. There's no distractions in here. It's very straightforward. And it actually looks much better than it used to. I will give Moodle some credit here. This used to look a lot worse. If you guys have seen the little screenshot that they have when you make the application, it looks horrible. But it actually doesn't look that bad. You might not need a theme, but there are free Moodle themes that you can find that you can play around with. I mean, yeah, this looks terrible. Okay, so that's our trifecta. Moodle, WordPress, vTiger. Capture information, do something with that information using vTiger, and then offer an actual product using Moodle, and have some sort of a course in there that gives people value. And you guys see a lot of people on Twitter doing courses. I think we see a lot of people on Twitter doing educational things as well. Now, in here, let's do vTiger, right? Let's say we have a few minutes before we finish. Let's take a look at what we need to do in vTiger. So here we have our vTiger. Now, you want to make sure you remember your login. And you also will find your vTiger inside of applications in your cPanel. Let's see if I remember my login. I do not. Oh no, I do. Look at that. Awesome. So once you guys log into vTiger, it's also very stripped back, but it actually looks very professional and nice. Here you'll find I made a module. Okay, so we want to edit settings. So in vTiger, what you want to do is you want to go to Settings, CRM Settings. I'll keep this on the stream so you guys can get there. You're going to click on the little hamburger menu in the top left, then go all the way down to Settings and select CRM Settings. This is where we can find the global settings for our vTiger. Now,
Sorry. Just to answer the question, there is a delay actually in the audio and the video. So just keep your eye on the video and it'll all line up and eventually you'll understand it. I'm just answering a question in the DM. So yes, there is a delay between the audio that's on the visual or on your visuals and what we're hearing here on social audio. So I apologize for the confusion, friend. Go ahead, Alistair. I'm sorry I interrupted you. We are looking at vTiger right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually going to wait. So guys, when you get to the settings in vTiger, because you'll notice on the stream, it'll probably stop there for about a minute. Just give me a thumbs up when you get to the settings, and then we'll go through some of them. And, you know, the delay, what's even worse is there's a delay between the speakers and the listeners on X. So there's like almost a double delay for people who are listeners.
I think that's actually the biggest crux of our problem in our live classes on Wednesday night is that, you know, Ross moves through it kind of quickly and we have double delays. So the listeners can't hear it. So we notice that there are people that come up just as the speakers so that they can hear it in real time and have a semi matchup to the screen. But I do think I have to pay closer attention to that personally because yes, Alistair's absolutely right. There's a 10-second delay between me speaking and what you are hearing as the listener audience. So when we have these new concepts, I am going to be more disciplined in just sticking to that kind of topic for a good 10 seconds. Our friend Andrew at Spaces Dashboard helps folks, especially if you are a Spaces host or anything like that, in giving you pointers about that delay. So hopefully by pointing it out here on the recording, people will become cognizant of it because it's really easy to get lost very quickly. If it's new to you and you didn't realize that there is a significant delay, it can confuse the heck out of you. And it's not a you problem, it's a systems problem that we all have to kind of navigate. So don't beat yourself up if you get completely lost. That's why watching the videos after the fact and going through it a second time help solidify that muscle memory in yourself because now you're taking ownership of the information at your speed, not necessarily the wonkiness and the discombobulation of the real-time stream. So go ahead, Alistair.
Okay, so guys, once you get to the settings, what you want to go is you want to go to configuration, company details. That's going to be our global settings for logo, name. So inside of the CRM settings, configuration, company details, and that's where you can find all the info you need to complete your homework. You can change the logo. So when you go to edit logo, it wants a specific size. So you want to just put it in that size or at least that aspect ratio so it doesn't look strange. And for address, you don't have to put your address, but you can put somewhere, I guess, like up to the state for now.
If you don't have something to put there, you could put the banner for your Twitter page, or you could put your profile pic. You can just put anything there, but I'm putting a little asterisk up at the top. Remember, this is real, right? So when you're creating your web pages, you want to put your best or foot forward. So don't, make it a joke or do anything like that. But, you know, keep it business casual for right now. If you don't have an idea or you don't have, official logo for that matter, just figure out how you can put it in there, because remember, this is your living transcript that folks can look at and see what you're building in real time. This is your transcript that you can show to other people. So you want to make sure that, you're showing that you know what you're doing. So if you do not have a logo, don't panic. Just put up your banner, or put up your PFP, or put up something that indicates that it is you, right? And then you can change it later, because we know how to do that.
That's true. Or, our next class is on Wednesday. So you have about 6 days. Try to make a logo. Go to tools like Canva, go to Pixia, try to generate a logo. Flux does very well with logos, the new Flux model. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why this little homework will take up to a week, is maybe you want to spend some time making your logo. This is your opportunity, right? It's such a seemingly small homework, yet you can take that step and you can spend the time to actually put in the brand information. Maybe this is the time for you to take that step and actually get some sort of, incorporation documents. I think in most states it's only like $100 to $200 to get an LLC. Maybe this is where you want to take that step and you want to start taking it that level of seriously. Okay, now this is your homework. This is pretty much the biggest thing you want to do for next Wednesdays. Actually have your logo in here. If you want to take it a step further, well, go to your WordPress, do the same thing. Add your logo in WordPress. Go to Moodle, add your logo in Moodle. And now you have these 3 apps unified with one type of brand, one logo. So if you want to take the next step, there's always those students who want to do extra after the homework. That is your next step, is brand all 3 of these websites. Give them the right names. Give them the right logo, the right favicon. Okay. Now, any questions about the homework?
I'm not seeing any. I'm seeing a thumbs up from Kev. So I think that the session is coming to an end and we are wrapping it up. I just can't thank you enough, Alisher. I have learned more in this hour. Just going back and going through it, I feel far more confident in terms of my skill set. Last night I was a little shaky, but now making the connections, I'm having that Sharon moment. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you to Nick and Ross behind the scenes. Also, thank you to Mattia and Cash Money, Kev, and Luke for holding down the fort here on Thursday mornings, wherever Josh is. I hope that the day is treating him kindly. He is such a just a special guy in general. So to those of you that saw this class to the very end, right, go back and look at this recording on Thursday. Be super fluid in how to create those domains, and you are going to give yourself the gift that keeps on giving. And so, every time you go through it, you learn it, it becomes more solidified in your head. I'm proud of each of and every one of you for giving yourself the permission to learn new things, the permission to fail, but also the permission to win and to have that achievement. These are no small tasks. They may seem bite-sized, but when you think of how far you've come, especially if you've been with us since season 1, your base of knowledge is incredible. There are only a handful of folks, when you think of 9 billion people or whatever it is now, just a fraction of the folks know what you've been doing behind the scenes. And I just think that's beautiful. The things that you're using at your fingertips and having AI help you when you need it to do the heavy lifting. This is a new way of learning. This is the disruptive model of education, and you are pioneers. You are pioneers in this ecosystem and in this realm. So pat yourself on the back. You did awesome today. I just want to thank you. And if you're feeling up to it and you're getting your feet dug in and you're ready to kind of pitch your idea, um, because it's becoming real, folks. And you want people to populate your ecosystems, right? You want to test these things out. Come and visit us on Saturday in the Innovators Think Tank. Sign up for an opportunity to pitch your idea. Say, hey, I'm in my initial stages. I'm just trying to see if this idea will float someone's boat. No guts, no glory. You got to be present to win, and you got to show up. So you are always welcome there. And I can't wait to hear your idea at that time. Saturday night, of course, we have our demo days with Tech in Schools. And so you get to play with the AI and understand their ecosystem a little bit better too. So you are more than welcome then. Hopefully we'll see you. I'll see you on Wednesday night or again Thursday morning. Alisher, I'm giving you a big hug through the phone. You're awesome. Thank you so much for being here today and for being my friend. I just enjoy having the handful of you guys in my world. I am definitely 100% a better human just knowing you guys. It's just wonderful. So have a wonderful day, folks. Have a beautiful weekend. Go on to greatness.
Well said, Sarah. Well said. I couldn't have put it better myself. Um, I will add on just for my little final closing notes myself. Um, just feel free, guys, to go on YouTube and look up V Tiger training videos. And if you're having some struggles, and there's all types of great little short tutorials that only are 3 minutes long. And if you're having struggles like with a certain detailed problem that's in the weeds, just I'm sure that they have a small little tutorial to help you get through your problem. Um, and with that, I hope everybody gets their homework done. Uh, Alisher, great job, man. These quick little recap sessions are priceless. I love them in the morning too. I can't agree more with Sarah. And with that, guys, have an amazing Thursday. We'll see you in ITT 65 in the next Wednesday class next week too for number 4. I'm excited. Um, go on throughout your day with greatness.